Hello, Leslie.
Recording progress.
Hi, Leslie. Are you there?
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. Thanks for joining us today.
Of course.
I'm Candice Huber. I'm the manager of the Farmer Grants for Northeast SARE and here to answer any questions you might have. Vander, do we need to do any housekeeping stuff or just jump right in?
I think we're good to jump right in. I guess for introduction purposes for when we post this video, this is our first Q&A session, and we're very excited to be trying this new way of engaging with people because it seemed like the Q&A sessions were our best part of our webinars, and so we just want to focus on doing that.
Awesome.
Thanks. Leslie, what's your question?
So I just was hopping on here. I didn't know it was going to be just like me and you guys. So I wanted to just listen, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be like a webinar or like explaining more about the grant and the opportunities. So I guess I just wanted to hear a little bit more about what that looks like.
Yeah, so we're hoping, other people will jump on. Are you a farmer? No,
No,
not a farmer.
I work with farmers, so we represent farmers.
Yep. And do you know anything about our farmer grants? Have you seen the call for proposals or?
Yes, but it was a while ago whenever I signed up for this. So, and I've been looking at a lot of grants, so I just was like here to refresh my memory, to be honest. I just hop on these calls so I can like take notes and do that type of thing. So
sure. Well, I can give you a little overview of the yeah. And so this year we have a call open for 2024 farmer grant proposals. So the deadline is November 14th at 5 p.m. and it's for awards that will be announced at the end of February with March 1st as the start date. And each farmer grant proposal, it needs a technical advisor. So the applicant would be the farmer, and they would have a technical advisor who would be hopefully somebody who knows about their topic, or how to research a topic or a project that they're interested in. Could maybe help them write the proposal, maybe could help them with outreach or any other aspects of the project while the project is going on. And yeah, so this grant program is open to farmers in the Northeast region, and to be a farmer, you have to have at least $1,000 worth in sales of product from your farm in the calendar year prior, or you would have. We do take into account if if there was like a drought, or like this year, maybe some people didn't have their normal amount of sales because we had so much rain, so that sort of thing. And yeah, so I think what I'll do is I'll open it up to Stephen. Welcome to our drop-in session. I'm Candice Huber, the manager of the Farmer Grant Program, and I'm just giving a little overview of the program, but I'm wondering if you have a specific question we can dive into. Or Leslie.
Can you tell me again the deadline? I didn't catch the date.
November 14th. It's a Tuesday, and the deadline's at 5 p.m.
Okay.
Hi, Stephen.
Hello. So as far as who's on the call, so you're the one from the SARE, and then Candice and or Leslie and what?
Vander is
you're both from SARE. Okay.
SARE, yes. Maybe
so
actually I should write
essentially
that.
Leslie and I are the only two asking about the details. Is that right?
Yes, at the moment. I'm hoping we'll have more people join us as the session hour goes on. Do you have any specific questions, Stephen?
I'm trying to figure out, like I've looked at some previous like the reports of like ones that were like active reports, but I was like, is there an example of an actual submission that can be viewed?
We don't have,
Because
um,
because I have lots of questions on like how to frame it. Like, and it's not that it's not like so my background is I'm an engineer. I used to work for CNH, Case New Holland, and
mhm,
I used to do testing professionally and like write lab reports and like propose design of test and things of that nature. So like I understand, like I'm not struggling with like the technical nature of what your outline is.
mhm,
I'm struggling with what you're looking for like what your goals of your organization and what you want to fund
mhm.
and like how to structure that. So
Yeah.
outside, and I don't currently work for Case New Holland anymore. I quit to farm, and so I work as an engineer somewhere else now. That's not
Mhm,
related to agriculture, but like on our farm, we're doing like testing to develop like methods for like you could say, well, I mean, I don't know how you want to quantify it, regenerative, sustainable, like all those terms, but like one of the big ones we're trying to do is we're trying to grow into um, existing ground cover. So as for vegetables, so we do 3 acres of vegetables. We started a store in our town last year because essentially after 5 years of this, we can't get a continuous outlet that doesn't like the farmers market, the market managers change, and that messes us up on what our plan is for next year. There's verbal commitments that have messed us up. So like we ventured to open the store to try to make it that we have a continuous outlet for the farm so the farm could expand or have a continuous outlet. And we're trying to set that up for other local farmers. So like I have like a ton of avenues. Like I'm like curious because like I saw there's like a line item for marketing. And like that's one of the open items that we're trying to do at the store that like you could technically qualify as a farmer's market that like may like because like one of our like there's only two of us. It's just me and my wife, and I do a full-time job, engineering job to fund all this. So, but if there's opportunities for like marketing research, that then we could use this grant to hire a marketing research for the store, which is directly, right? Like we're supporting, I think it's that all the vendors are not farmers, but it's like 5 or 6 local farms that the store is allowing for a significant outlet for them to actually continue, right? Like so I'm like throwing lots of stuff out there, but that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, um, it seems like something would fit, and I just can't figure out the framework of like an example proposal that I could use as a guideline to say like, does it fit what we can do, and then can we support it? Does it make sense because we don't have the time?
okay,
So,
so, um, as far as examples of proposals, we don't provide those because not there's like no perfect proposal. And we don't
okay.
want to put something out there and then people say, oh, well, these people said da 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 da, because every grant cycle, the pool of proposals is different. And so it's a competitive grant. So what you're competing against is different. So that we can't make guarantees. But that being said, I think what you're looking for more is an example of projects, a project that so what the projects are that we've funded. And you could go to the SARE database, and maybe Vander, you could pop that link into the, oh, you already
So I
did.
did do that, and I did like because I have another one. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but like the Soil Food Web Institute does a class, and it's and I specifically looked through your projects and found 3 examples of where individuals did grant or projects, or there was like one proposed and like 2 in currently are that are in process. But I can't like when I look at what the dollars are for those projects, I don't understand how I would write a similar project to do the same thing, similar thing.
Um, Hang on. Let me
I,
just,
and I can get the examples. I like because I tried to send an email to the like rep for Northwest or for the Northeast area, to like a Penn State account, and I didn't get a reply. I like tried twice through two different emails.
Okay, so
to-
first, Stephen, where are you located?
I'm in York, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
Glen Rock, Southern
And
York. So Glen Rock, Pennsylvania.
you tried contacting Penn State
Oh,
regarding
no.
a-
There's you have on your website, like your regional
Oh,
contact.
yeah. Okay. Yep. The SARE coordinator.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes. So we do have state coordinators in each state. Yep.
Right. State.
And
That's what it is.
yeah. And but so I'm just trying to get back to what your question is about how you would frame your project in a competitive way, right? Is that basically what you're asking?
Well, I mean,
Is
again, I
what
don't
your
know, like, what is your goal? Like, how do I like align what I have with like all
Yep.
the things I have floating around to what your overall goals of what you want to fund?
Yep. So it really comes down to our outcome statement. What we're looking for for all these projects to support. And that is Northeast agricultural communities honor the holistic connection among land, water, air, and all living beings. Agriculture in the Northeast is accessible, sustainable, and just, addressing historic and current inequities so all farmers and farm employees can steward resources to ensure sustainability, resilience, economic viability, and a high quality of life. So your project, you want to design a project that will support that statement. And so essentially, you want to research something or investigate something or provide education about something that will impact farmers, that will, in the Northeast region, that will allow farming to become more sustainable. And so reviewers are really looking for, they're looking for all the review criteria in the proposals to be addressed in the call for proposals. There's review criteria. I don't know. Have you looked at the call for proposals?
I think I did, and I apologize. I should have been better prepared for this question
No,
and
no,
answer
that's
session
fine.
because
No,
I looked at
that's what I'm
this
here
like a
for.
month ago, and then like fall happened, and it's like fall planting, and
Yeah,
like so.
no worries. That's what I'm here for. So in the call for proposals, there's it's all laid out what exactly we're looking for each question in the proposal. And it also includes the review criteria for that question. So exactly what the reviewers will be scoring that on. But overall, we want the proposal to be applicable to other farmers in a way that it can, other farmers can learn from it to be able to pursue sustainable agriculture. So maybe you have a project that doesn't necessarily pan out, but that's still helpful information for other farmers. If it had potential, though, what we want is it to have potential to impact farmers in a positive way. So if your results pan out, then it could really help other farmers. So not just your farm. So like your marketing for your store, you would want to design a project that would look at how to market a store in a way that you're setting up maybe a model that other farmers could use to be able to determine if a store would work in their area, or in a way that could maybe you have a unique twist on how you could engage consumers, and then other farmers could use that to be able to in their marketing. And you'll take that and you'll see like how productive it is. Does it work? Did we really get more customers? Is it a cost benefit analysis, that whole sort of thing? Those are the types of things that we're looking for. And to be competitive, you really want to make it clear how this can help farmers. You want to be clear about what you're going to do, what you're going to measure, and what you're going to what kind of results you're looking for, and how it could potentially impact the farming community.
So for that example, what kind of things are then covered? That's what falls under what you're compensating an individual for the grant.
Yeah.
That's because that's some of like I understood the no capital expenses of something that right would be like a permanent investment that essentially isn't just supporting the activity. So like
Right,
any
so
pieces
we,
of equipment that would still remain, but like, so like a service, right? So like for this scenario, right, if I have a baseline of what the marketing strategy has been for the past year, right, that I could say these was like specifically what the marketing was for this year, and we're proposing to have this be the marketing for next year, and we're right where the thought is by doing these specific things on these intervals, this and this, that should increase these sales in the store by X, right?
yep. One other important thing that I didn't mention that we're looking for in these projects is for there to be a need. So you would need to figure out how to present it in a way that is convincing that other farmers are looking for this information too. You know,
So,
so
so in
how
this
would
scenario, right? So like since the store is like, so what we're modeling, because again, this is like what my wife and I are trying to like figure out. Like we're both engineers and we're like this should work, right? This micro economy that right, that we have a whole, like my wife started with a farmer's market in town that we had on a weekly basis, or it was on a monthly basis, and then it went to a weekly basis. And like we're talking about, like we made the decision last year, right, that all the farms and that are in this farmers market are like stuck, that they can't get to the next economic level because they can't get the outlet, and that one of the biggest issues they have is that they can't, right, they can't hire employees because they're not to that, like they can't get to that next bracket of money to be able to hire labor, right? But to get from here to there without labor, the issue is marketing and exposure. So we open the store to try to bridge that gap of trying to get that, the store being open 6 days a week provides marketing and a continuous outlet that then the farmers can produce more and take their effort in marketing and push it back to production to try to bridge that gap. So
so
like
would your store be is it just selling your product, or would it be more like a cooperative?
it's more like a cooperative. I mean, it's set up right now as a grocery store essentially, but it's like a corner store, and like essentially the local, anybody we can find locally that can produce a quality product is the first one to bring in. And then after that, to fill out the offering to try to get the traffic, like we're filling out the offering as a full store.
Mhm.
And then trying to do a
So
regional localism.
So what would you be measuring? You'd be measuring how much, doing like a cost benefit analysis with the labor that it takes you to do this, to run this
Well,
operation.
again, that's right, right. So that's again, there's there's the store is one issue, but then if we specifically said, and again, this is where I'm asking, like what makes sense, like, and there is like like there's, right, because my wife primarily runs the store, right? So, and if there's things that she's doing that like, and that could be covered as a service under the grant, then that helps the store stay open to continue the study or like what we're trying to do. But the alternative would be to then, like an alternative is that we said marketing, like we could look to hire a marketing service to possibly deliver this, right, that she's struggling to do in the scope of work. But we think would be push the store through the threshold, and then essentially bring all the farmers with us as far as getting to those next tiers of volume for them to have increased their incomes, to get out of this, like to bridge this farmers market model is what we're saying, because we think the farmers
Right.
market model is flawed.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm seeing a project there that would be competitive. I'm also seeing that reviewers what might look at it and say, they just want to be able to fund their store.
Right.
So
That's what,
you have to make the connection that this is that we're figuring out how to bridge that gap, and then other farmers could use this model to be able to do the same, you know, with, you need, like, I don't know, you'll determine what kind of marketing, how much marketing, all that stuff. And what SARE could pay for in that project would be time spent on gathering the data. Maybe it could potentially, if reviewers, you know, if you make it really clear to reviewers that this is only for the project, the marketing for the store, to be able to determine, you know, the success or the possibility of bridging this gap, then SARE would pay for a marketing, you know, consultant or service. So we pay for your labor on the project, but not for the operation that you would normally be doing. So if it's
Okay.
normal work, yeah.
So that's
But
a
if
good
it's
clarification. So if it's
Yeah.
already right, well, if you look at the right, if we shared the business plan and we say like whose role is what, right? And my wife says it's, you know, she's the market manager, right? And what falls under normal roles and including marketing of the store wouldn't be covered because it's already in the business. It's already in the business. So it has to be separated out as a auxiliary task of
Right.
like an improvement task that would,
Yes.
right, that is like spun off as a separate project in a case study. Okay, that
Yep.
makes it more clear. That's exactly kind of like the delineation I was like trying to understand.
Okay, good. Yeah.
If I can raise a question for you, Stephen, and I'm Vander, I am the communications person. And so one of the questions that comes up for me, because I was looking through that project I linked from 2015, that talks about farmers networks for joint marketing and sales. And they have three pretty, their goal is pretty clearly communicated in there, which is really helpful that it shows. But you mentioned microeconomies. And
So I didn't look at those examples. I just
no,
came up with this
you're totally
idea of
fine. That's a
the
good one to check out. But you mentioned microeconomies, and that makes me that raises the question for me of thinking about how the data that you collect or the work that you're doing through this kind of project might be communicated to other people in other places that are looking to do something like this. Because it sounds to me like you're talking about a project that is fairly, that your work is micro, it's located to those things. So the idea to me sounds like that there would be some place for other people to do this without your involvement, but something produced, blah, blah, blah. So I just wonder what thoughts you might have on how you would communicate this project to farmers in the wider Northeast region, and how your data might be gathered in a way that could be adaptable to their needs.
well, so that would be like, so we'd probably like maybe publish the business plan for the store as part of like the foundation of it, that like, and that has all like, we worked with the small business administration, and so they gave us a ton of research. So, and they made us fill out the business plan to say like, what are the economics of specifically Glen Rock, right? And where is your closest grocery store, and those specific criteria. And if we publish those with it, then it would say like, this is a model, right, of and it's sort of like you said co-op earlier, because that's kind of like we were looking at that idea of a co-op too, and that's what essentially we're trying to do, is a co-op with a storefront. So that would be right. This is what we would say. We recommend this, like we got it to work. But you would have to like, but it only works in like, you know, like we tested it in this scenario and it works. So like if you could find a region that's similar, right, that it's a place that, you know, is a food desert, or right, that it's underserved, you have people that only can walk to to get their groceries. Like all of that criteria was in our business plan as to what we expected to be the foot traffic and the customers and the economic region. So so that's how I could see that others could apply it, if we report that in a way that people can translate.
And
So
you would,
does that make sense, or like does that align, or?
Yeah, it does. Along with the business plan, would you provide like a marketing plan, as your results of what you did?
Yes, again, as I said, I would provide the business plan as the foundation to say this is our
Right.
circumstances, right? And then the
Yep.
project would be the marketing plan. Like we would
Right.
outline what the marketing plan, like we would probably call it a marketing study, right? To make sure it's not a marketing plan, it's a study, and like frame it up that, we want to see if we can push sales by doing this type of marketing. And like the parts would be is because we just had this, Ellie and I had this, my wife and I had this conversation this morning, that the model we're working on, so we have the store, but we still have a farmer's market in the parking lot every weekend. And that is a specific marketing strategy so that people get face time with the products that are in the store. So again, and that we're only bringing the farmers in on like a rotation, that it's not all at one time, and that they only have to spend that, 5 hours every other Sunday or every third Sunday. And that when people look at the product on the shelf, they know that they had face-to-face contact with that person. And so then they're going to buy it.
Right. So when you're doing a study, usually you're comparing something like maybe that scenario to either not doing it or doing it at a different rate of, attendance or some sort of differences to be able to determine. And then at the end, you could have recommendations. We found that this wasn't worth it, but we found that this really worked well to get us to that next level. That's the kind of thing we're looking for.
Yeah, and that's what we can provide a baseline because we know like what vendors showed up when the previous year. And then we have a record of what we did for Facebook for promoting and stuff, because that's the other part that like we're trying to get on our vendors, that they are promoting the entire group together, like as much as they can, because they don't make it a priority. And so like we're trying to figure, like we had that discussion this morning, how like we have this marketing plan and it's like, I mean, we're doing all of this at our own cost. Like the business plan seemed to work out, but like the real numbers in life it's not where it needs to be because we can't get the foot traffic we need. And it's because and we see it, the marketing is where the business plan stopped, like kind of like it's not continuing. And what we've identified is that we're not getting the like support from our entire group, like all those vendors and stuff to help promote, to build that broad image. So like that would
Yeah.
be the
So those
strategy to set up that, like kind of like, because we talked about having a consultant come in, a marketing consultant, and talk to like the group of vendors to do that training, so that it's not us saying, hey, promote the store. We're saying like, no, promote your product. Just say it's available at the store. So, and that would be a
Yeah,
different,
so those
like,
are the kinds of things, yeah, you would want to establish in your project. And I think also, reviewers are going to look to see, they do look forward too. Like, so, okay, so if we provide these funds to be able to help you do this study, are you going to be able to continue with the marketing, with the recommendations that you come up with out of this? And so they're going to look, so you may want to think ahead into some sort of plan for that. Like maybe
just, you're saying
all the farmers that
sustainable.
participate will have to, pay $20 a year or something, or whatever. So that, maybe you need to, or more, depending, I don't know how many, $100,
Right.
five, whatever, to be able to have somebody specifically, work 5 hours a week doing marketing, or 10 hours, or whatever you think, whatever your study finds is needed. So I think that piece is just really valuable because reviewers really appreciate that when you're thinking ahead, like, okay, once we've done this, how are we going to carry it forward?
Right. 'Cause especially if we're hiring a consultant, right, that fills a gap, right? The plan
Mhm.
is right. So this was an auxiliary gap that was plugged. As soon as you pull it out, like the whole thing can't fail. It has to have like just, the goal would be to show that it jump started it, and that primarily it was an educational jump start. And once the tools and everything were there, then it's sustainable. If I'm
Mhm.
if I'm hearing you correctly, that's the way to like frame it.
Well, yeah, the sustainability of the project but I just want to be clear though, we won't provide you money to just jumpstart, marketing it does
No,
need to be some sort of research
right,
or
right.
education.
Right, but I
Okay,
understand that
just
that's
wanted to
like
be sure.
that's the outcome of the study, like essentially, right? That like,
Yes,
right. So like there's the
yes.
study because it's a thought that doing this marketing will help the like, right, all of the businesses involved. But
Hmm.
again,
Hmm.
you'd want to say, right, after the study, it proves that after you can provide the education and then showing how much time was involved, that this is an activity that can be continuously done after the study is over.
And honestly, we are, like Vander said, how would you communicate this, and to the wider region? And as you're talking, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great to come up with sort of a guide that, says this is the marketing strategy that we found that works to bridge this gap. And, you start out with what the problem is and then why, what your recommendations are. And it's a guide that you could share with other farmers or farming communities so that they could use it to maybe help, to follow or
Right.
to be able to
Because
make it
but
work for them
technically,
too.
right, because you could like if you frame it up correctly, like an individual farmer can use it who has a stand at the end of their driveway or whatnot. Like, because it's trying to accomplish the same goals of setting the criteria, right? You're going after how many followers can you get, you know, it's like all the Facebook criteria, and now you have to do Instagram, and now a question always comes up, like, then you're moving to another, not now, what's another one? There's like
Threads,
another one
TikTok.
that like, how do you do all of it at once? And like, do
Mhm.
you like, it's right, it's always a moving target, it seems. And like, we just had this review, like with some of the vendors that are in the store, like they're running, this is their livelihood of the things that they're marketing, and so they're in other avenues well. And we talk about
Thanks,
um
Leslie.
um
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, sorry, I hope I didn't take all the time that she had questions that.
No, she didn't have any specific questions. She just wanted to listen.
Oh, okay. Because like we talk about how to use these media and like how they are effective, and like, so this person says they're doing this and then this person says they're doing this. And again, if we could, like, if everybody could help each other, that's what we're trying to do. Because like the issue is labor. Like, everybody's hitting this labor point that they can't get past it. So like, how do we network to help that through like a co-op, that like we're covering each other so that it's efficient, and then everybody can focus on what they're doing. So
Yeah, Stephen, I would really recommend that you go to our project database and look up cooperatives or co-ops. There
okay,
have been a lot developed. There was a great graduate student project on that actually. So you don't need to limit it to don't limit it to farmer grants. Limit it because there's a lot of in partnership grants and our other grants. But if you just go in and type in the keyword cooperatives and look up and scan some of those projects, there's a lot of there have been a lot of projects that have researched cooperatives, forming cooperatives, and the legalities and the and marketing is a huge part of it, to be able to provide, join forces to provide marketing, join forces to provide equipment, join forces to
right.
provide outlets, retail outlets, and pricing, and da 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 da. So I would definitely recommend taking a look at those projects just to be able to get a sense
Well,
of
it's a
what's
parallel that
been
helps
done.
frame it. So, right.
Yeah, yeah. I think Vander popped in a link to a project
Mhm.
or the search engine.
Yep, there's a search there. And I think that one of the points that you brought up in your story, and I think would be valuable to make sure you're communicating, was you mentioned that you'd worked with the SBA to
The
do
SBA. Oh, the small business. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was like, I
so
didn't get any pets. What? No.
Yeah.
you have to report if you got no, so you have animal stuff.
You're right.
So you mentioned that you worked with the SBA, and it feels to me like one of the questions or the needs that you've raised here is that you received this information from the SBA, but now part of your project is kind of figuring out what to do with it. So if you're talking about what that is for how this relates to other farmers, if you're talking about, oh, if somebody else is going to participate in this SBA program, this guidebook could be the thing that helps you understand how to take that and move it into it. But I don't know if I'm understanding that correctly, or if that SBA stuff was kind of separate for you.
Well, it's kind of like, well, so it sets the foundation of what the assumptions were, right? That's what the kind of the SBA, right? Because we wrote the business plan and we made all these assumptions for costs, and that's one of the other things that's like a huge deviation of like which happens in all business plans, apparently, is that there's our operating costs are more than what we had anticipated, but again, but that's not that's not related to farming, but there are some interesting issues, like as far as like day to day, like uh and then and just an example, like, I only work on Saturday in the store, or Sundays on the store, because right, I have a full-time job plus I'm doing the 3 acres of vegetables. And the reason we do the 3 acres of vegetables is because we want to be able to talk to the customer. Like when the customers talk to us, we know what we're talking about. Like, right, we say we grow this stuff. Like, so when they're because they ask all kinds of questions about, like, right, the other one the other day was, right, there are green beans, but you have purple and yellow. Like, are they the same thing? And we're like, yeah, they're like, yes, there are even more colors out there of beans, right? And so, and like we grow these this way, like that, to give us the credibility, right? That, you know, but again, I only work there on Sundays, and Allie, my wife's trying to manage inventory because farmers come in and drop stuff off and go, okay, here you go, sell it for me. And we're like, and I have to know, well, how much are we charging for this? Like, where did it come from? How are we like, and like, so we originally had in our plan to barcode everything, and that like, we just like the funds to do that and the time, like that's what like in the management and like where do you put it, like we have to store stuff that we had a plan for storage but we weren't like able to execute it, but like there's these little labor things that are kind of eating us up and managing it, like this inventory, and then setting up those agreements with the different people involved too, is like we have different agreements for different people because it's what makes sense for them. So, but managing all that is a bit, and like just writing checks and just it's interesting. So, and again, just for like your information, like I mean, the store isn't big, but like we just looked at what our gross was for over the past year, and it's like $120,000 in sales. So it's not. I mean, again, for a grocery store, it's small, but like it's like significant that that like the model we want to make the model work, and it's not necessarily right, like we're not looking like we're taking no home pay from it, we're trying, but we don't want to do it as a nonprofit, but like we're trying to make it that like it should work. So
Stephen, do you sell products other than agricultural products?
yes,
Or is it just
so we do sell um like plastic free is essentially like the other emphasis of the store. So it's like so and locally made, like soaps and glass jars, and again, it's trying to offer like, as the business plan, like for like it was set up as a grocery store that it had like categories of what typical grocery stores have, and so that's what from the marketing strategy was to like offer all those things as well, because for a normal grocery store those are significant sales, and it's that idea that people are trying to do a one-stop shop. So but the other thing that we're doing too, I should throw in here, is it's specifically agricultural related. We're trying to stay seasonal. So like we always face that question of having tomatoes in what is it, April? And we're like, no, like in this region, right? Unless they're
Mhm.
hothouse, but even that's a struggle at this time of the year. Like the hothouse tomatoes will come out, in, you know, early May, and people are like, so we're trying to stay with that because of like we just don't like we don't think it makes sense to not be seasonal. So because that's part of the
So,
whole food system problem. But
mhm. So I'm just trying to get like a full picture of the issue that you're trying to address and
well,
tighten it
I
up.
have lots of
What?
issues. Again, like I would
Yeah.
like most of
But
like
so,
there's a section that are related to the store, and I'm saying like, marketing
mhm,
is what
right.
like I think would be the focus of what makes sense for what is in aligns with what you're trying to do. Because I'm not trying to say like trying to fund the store or trying to like
No, no.
we
Um,
specifically identified marketing is where we're struggling, and that um, we think that if we knew what we could like knew what to do better and had certain rules that we could do by that were sort of more of like manageable, and that we could do like set ourselves up with a schedule, and that it was identified what like what's the investment, right? Because that's what everybody's like, what are the right things that get you the most return for your marketing
mhm.
at what intervals and whatnot, versus us saying, well, this is what we're doing now, right? If we have a better understanding of what is the best investment for return, that would be what the study would be, is saying these like, right, these are the what could be done in marketing, right? And then these are the things that are going to give you the most return on your agricultural, right? Like, because it's like that's
Mhm.
what we're focused on.
So listen to, this is, so throughout this whole conversation, I've just picked up on some things and I just want to know if this sounds, because this just might be a little helpful to you. I don't know, maybe not. But you've talked about the lack of labor. You've talked about bridging the gap from farmers markets to, I believe you were saying, larger retail outlets. And so the lack
So
of
the other
labor
so
makes
the other
it so.
caveat, sorry, I shouldn't interrupt. I'll let you go.
So, okay, yeah, I just want to say, so by increasing the marketing aspect of your operation, you will be able to have more income, and then you can put more into hiring labor and be able to grow your business. Does that sound, or am
So
I
that's
missing like,
well, that's
so grow
right.
your
So
business so then you'll have enough to sell to the larger retail outlets? I'm just trying to put together how it all bridges the gap.
yes, okay. So yes, right, like that, like I'm right. So if like so we're a vendor in the store, the farm is. So
Mhm,
like again, if you say the store is my wife and I'm the farm,
mhm.
then like I'm a vendor in the store, right? And I can only produce so much as an individual. And I can't, right? Like, and there's a threshold for I can't afford like if I can find help, they're not reliable, right? On a like, part-time basis. And right. So where I have to get to for my outlet for specifically the farm to be able to hire um help, like how do I get from where my sales are for me, an individual person, versus with additional labor. Um, there's well now you're I'll try not to, I'll stay on subject because mechanization is a side is like also how I'm trying to solve this problem, but that's
Mhm,
not
mhm.
this either. Because there's a whole thing about
No, it's
how
not. But you might want to address stuff like that because reviewers will say, like, well, is this really, what's needed to get from,
right.
A to B? Or, and if you say, there are these other aspects and address those, reviewers would appreciate that.
Okay. So I'm
So
glad
that they know, yeah.
so right. So if I look at just the farm and what the market does for the farm, right? So the comparison is right. So if for me to get the same outlet as what the market does for me right now, is I have to schedule myself for 6 farmers markets a week to get the exposure that the market does. or something. You could say, right, based on the numbers that come through the store, like it's not 6 individual markets, maybe 3 strategic ones that have X number of throughput of people, but it's still, right? So it takes that I can take what time I have, that I can grow more tomatoes to supply the store, right? And I can almost then supply the whole years of seasonal tomatoes as one farmer, because I have enough time to do it. And then plus I have to diversify my offering in case my tomatoes fail, right? So I want to be doing, like peppers and squash, right? Something that makes sense, right? For me, but that store allows me to focus on certain things that I can guarantee my sales outlet, and then not be going to the farmer's market with just like, because if it's a farmer's market, if I just showed up with only seasonal tomatoes, like let's say spaghetti squash and potatoes, right, are like the 3 focuses I have for a volume, like I won't get any continuous customers because I don't have a full enough table. So, right, so me supplying the store, like if I know I can do those and some other things, but that's primarily like where I'm focused. Garlic's the other one. Um, um, that's something where I can continue to focus my efficiencies, and then like that's where I can make the mechanical investments too, as far as get to those volumes as well. So, but that's kind of, so like that, it ain't like the market, the market's marketing to increase the volume, then gets it that I can increase my, let's say, potatoes, tomatoes, and garlic volume and have a guarantee, or not a guarantee, but a pretty secure outlet that then I can look at the investments I make on the farm to then further push those volumes in like a controlled manner. Because in the past, so like one example is like one of the farmers markets we were going to was Hershey, and they told us in the fall that the vendor that was their vegetable supplier was dropping out for the next season, and they needed somebody to back. And what we had been doing previously was the fringe specialty vegetables, because every other farmer market we had a primary produce supplier. So that market told us they wanted a primary produce supplier. So we changed our whole planting for the next year, and then they had that produce supplier come back. So it messed up our right, you tear out what you just put in for a whole plan, and then like you can't pivot. Like, so we took huge losses. And then you could say, oh, it's shame on us, we didn't set up a written contract with that market manager. But that market manager was like they were paid by the town, like by that county or that borough to have a job, but it was a part-time job, right? And they're not going to sign a legal agreement. They're going to want a lawyer. Nobody's going to pay for that. So like, and that's happened several times to us, like similar things that somebody lets in a direct competitive at another market. They let in a direct competitive farmer, a flower vendor during prime flower season. So we had made the investment to like build the clientele off season for when the primary season hit, we'd have the volume, the clientele established. And they let a second vendor in that undercut the prices and like just killed the whole strategy. But that was a year in the building. So
yeah, one thing I do want to also let you know, though, make sure you know, is you will need as a farmer applicant, you'll need a technical advisor for your project. And so so I don't know if you heard me before you came on. I think it was I was telling Leslie about the technical advisor piece. But if you find somebody who is, who is an expert in marketing to be your technical advisor.
We have a friend she does marketing as a living. Like we keep trying to hire her, and she just keeps telling us, well, all you have to do is this. And we're like, no, we want to hire you. And she keeps going, no, all you have to do is this. But she would do this. She's very supportive of the store and very involved in our township. So
Yep. So marketing is good, but you'll want to also have somebody who knows how to. I mean, it would be helpful to have a technical advisor who can advise you on the actual study part of the project, like
So
what you're
what would
doing.
that be though? Like,
You a business, maybe a business, rural ag economist, maybe, or a business rural an ag
so
business
would it be somebody I could like
consultant.
try to look for maybe in the extension service?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And hopefully, and if you try to reach Vander, I'm blanking out on the state coordinator's name for Pennsylvania. Um, but if you try to reach her or reach somebody in your local extension office, maybe they could point you to somebody who could help you with that. And it could be somebody whose, specialty is marketing, but they also have experience with, doing studies and research in that area.
Okay. So you're specifically looking like studies and research. Okay. Because I can ask the small business too, as far like they have people that do those studies, so they might know somebody who could then be the advisor as well.
Mhm.
And they
Yeah, and then
specifically have an ag division too. So
yeah, that would be great. And you can have more than you have your technical advisor, but you can have as many collaborators as you need also. So, if you can't find a one person fits all thing, you can get like two or three experts in the various aspects that you need help with. Um, and you know, collaborating is a really good way to show, to make sure you've got all your bases covered and that you're, usually leads to is a good way to reach success. Yeah, Nicole Thompson is the state coordinator in Pennsylvania,
okay. And you just added
and
that to the chat?
that's in the chat. Yeah, did you
Thank
get
you.
all those links out of there in the chat? Because
I have them, yes.
yeah, great, because we'll be wrapping up soon. But yeah, so make sure, and if a technical advisor could help you, say, well, could even if you talk it through with them, like you've been talking it through with us, they could help also clarify, what things you could focus in on and how you could make this a competitive proposal. And what exactly the question, you really want to dial in on what's the question that you're asking or the problem that you want to solve, and what's your approach to solving it. Those are the things you really want to dial in on and be really clear about and express clearly in your proposal. And then also then and that way too, you'll be able to then know exactly like how you're going to do it. So you'll be able to understand, like you'll be able to think
It
through
writes
it,
out the
like what
plan.
you're going to need. What's that?
It's write out the plan.
Yeah. And then so you'll be able to understand, figure out like, oh, if we're doing this, we're going to need, we're going to need so many hours to work on it. We're going to need these supplies. And then you put together your budget. But the whole reason we have all this going on, or we ask you to do all this, is that to set you up for success. Because then when it comes time to do the project, you know what you're doing, you know what you're trying to get out of it, you know how to do it. And then you can actually focus on doing the work rather than like coming up with all kinds of questions and challenges as you go along.
So
If
I'm a
that makes sense.
manager in like in my job, and I manage engineers, and that's what like I'm always like,
Yeah.
you have to have the bullet point list. You need to be anticipating like what are the things you're going to need questions on, gather all the knowns. So like I know exactly what you're saying. So
Good. Perfect. Yeah. Any other specific questions?
no,
Got a
that's
few
no,
minutes
you've
left.
again, you've helped clarify again what the grants are intended. So that's really what I was struggling to understand, is like where they fit. And so you've answered a lot of those, because again, I understand, right? Like not just like, economic, it's not supposed to be an economic boost for things that are already in process, or like just it's supposed to, the return is supposed to be a very specific educational deliverable. So that can be used in the industry. So,
You got it. Yep.
okay. And so your examples help clarify how that, like where, like, because I wasn't quite understanding how, like the bits and like how that would work. So you've framed it up for me. So I now understand.
Terrific. I look forward to seeing your proposal come through.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
Right.
Stephen, for coming in and participating with us today. This is a new thing that we're trying, and I'm really excited that we get to have this conversation with you and really dive in deep and in a way that we just haven't had a chance to before with applicants. And I know that Candice is always answering questions from people via email, so if you have something, you could reach out after this.
Okay.
Yes.
You've really helped us start this off on a great foot, and you had wonderful questions.
Okay, again, I've been looking at this for because I saw the flags for last year, and I couldn't get to. There was you did one something, and I missed it. And I was like, I've been flagging myself to look at this. I looked at it like a month ago, and I was like, man, I got so many questions about I don't know how to frame this up, even though I was looking at. And again, at that time, I wasn't looking at the marketing. We just talked about marketing the other day. So, and I was like, oh, maybe this would apply. So, I was more looking at the mechanism. I have a whole parallel with mechanization and all kinds of stuff on the farm. But if I'm going to invest my effort, this marketing one gets more people ahead.
Mhm.
So, and it's more tangible because I can slack on if I have a miss on the farm, the market's where our focus is. So it has to align with where we're willing to continue to stretch ourselves and make sure it's where our focus is. So, and again, that's the things that's part of the other thing too, is that should be communicated in some part of the grant is right, that you don't want people right. I work a full-time job, then still do the 3 acres of vegetables. And they'll be like, well, how is he even going to do what he's just committed to? So I have to outline that as well. So, okay.
A lot of work.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, if it's in line with what we're already doing, then right. The
Yeah.
point is by networking, right? By you asking these questions, by me having to provide this plan, it'll help frame out exactly what I have to do, and having to have the reports will make it that we stay on track. So it helps us to frame up what our focus is and that we've committed this time to it. Which when things are going all over the place, that just helps.
That's great to hear. I'm so glad that you articulated that and that you understand that at this stage, because that's exactly right. And that's such a great benefit of it all too. So thank you.
Yeah, I gotta make sure I mention all that. So that's what I'm writing myself some notes.
Yeah.
Because again, now I better understand what the framework is. So
Mhm. Yeah.
because again, in my previous job, we used to write these capital projects, and we used to they were competitive throughout the entire company who would get the money. So I know I had to put that hat on as well. So I understand the framework now that you've outlined
Yeah.
it a little better, and what
Great.
the focus areas are. So
Good.
Perfect.
Well,
Thank you.
thanks so much for joining us, Stephen. We really, that was great. And I hope we get more people at our next session. We are going to be doing these every Wednesday in October. So if you have more questions, or if you want to just hear what kinds of things other people are asking, feel free to join in again.
Or you can come in and just say that exact thing you just said, and just
Yes.
yes. So we're always welcome that.
Yeah,
oh,
that'd
okay.
be perfect.
Well, again, I right. So I'm not right. So I'm not I've been around the farming community forever, but I'm an engineer, and I'm always this, the system doesn't work. There's got to be a way to make this work. People have to eat. This is ridiculous. This is an essential, and this can't work. So, and there are people that are making it work. So,
Yeah.
it's this problem that's going to drive me crazy if I don't solve it. So,
Good. Well, we count on people like you to save the world. That's for sure.
Thanks so much, Stephen. I'll talk to you later, Candice.
Yes.
thank you very much.
Hey, Commander, could you stay on
Yep.
for a minute?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Stephen.
you. Bye.
Bye. So